Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old to history to anecdotes to really wherever our whims take us. Today, history, and yet another question that may have been buzzing around the heads of those just entering the comic book space. I know it's a question I once asked. There's no shame in wondering about the basics. Everyone starts somewhere and we're all on different points of our comic book journey. And once you get a certain amount of the way in, it's easy to forget how daunting it felt at the beginning. That feeling of confusion that can come with joining a hobby that is so vast. There's just a lot of varied material. So what may seem like a super obvious everybody knows that is not the case for everyone. And there can be a lot of fun in finding out. An intellectual adventure. For example, this one has a surprise twist connection to another video that we did. So get excited, for today we shall answer, why did the Daredevil go from his yellow and red costume to just his pure red one? Was it just for the aesthetics or was there more going on? We're going to take a look at the in-canon reason and the out-of-canon reason, the meta reason, the editorial reason, the whatever you want to call it reason. So we've got a few stops to make. Before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, join us on this comic book journey. The Daredevil, Matt Murdock, was created in 1964 by Stan Lee and Bill Everett, though some feel that a third name should be added on there. We'll get to that shortly. In his first issue, he sported the slightly garish costume made up of yellow and red, although I am not one to talk at all about garish costumes, for I'm wearing a shirt that looks like it was made by Dr. Seuss. Daredevil, the man without fear, Marvel in his bold fashion choice. This cover, like most Marvel ones introducing a character at the time, is straight up just an advert for all their popular comics. They're a lot of a lot. It's like a pitchboard given cover form. Now his costume is said to be reminiscent of or meant to resemble an acrobat, though within the story the first goons he fights say that it's like a wrestling outfit. And even if they take it seriously, it also doesn't exactly strike fear into their hearts. It also has only one D at the center. Now here's the thing, despite this cover and the interior telling you that this comic is going to save your life and be a collector's item you treasure for all time, the book wasn't doing well sales-wise. So starting in issue 5, Stan Lee pretty much handed the book over to incoming artist Wally Wood. Oh yes, it's all coming together. On this channel, we first talked about Wally Wood over in our Power Girl bosom video, and its follow-up about how much of him increasing her bust size truly happened versus myth. So check those out if you missed them. I'll have cards and links and things. We also gave some base info on him there. Cliff Notes, an influential and talented and sassy, satirical at times artist, who went through some highs in the pre-code days of comics, and while being recognized by his peers and fans, especially in later days as talented, suffered some extreme lows. That and failing health and addiction led to an intense disillusionment with the industry, and this Daredevil venture is going to add to that disillusionment. His coming was announced proudly on the cover of issue 5. Under the brilliant artistic craftsmanship of famous illustrator Wally Wood, Daredevil reaches new heights of glory. Wood was coming off a long stint of working at Mad Magazine, 12 years, and he had a style that was still making its way over into comics. Superhero comics, that is. Though it may not look like it today or be notable because we're so used to seeing it, his style was very photorealistic. And this was a move away from the more newspaper comic strip look that the comics tended to have. Wood was already known for this thanks to his work illustrating sci-fi, a genre that had greatly suffered under the comics code, even as it thrived in other forms, experiencing a boom in the 50s in film. He was also known for some mature, gentlemanly fare. Let's put it like that. So his style brought some oomph to the Daredevil book, made Daredevil look different, and the first change he made right out the gate, 2 Ds on Daredevil's costume, not just one. His coming is further celebrated on the interior of the book. Personal note. Marvel wants to personally thank Bill Everett and Joe Orlando and Vince Colletta, who drew the first 4 DDs. See, they abbreviated his name that way because of Wally's costume shift, and it's now a commonly used nickname for Matt, for helping us launch the most successful new feature of the year. Well, that's just a bold-faced lie. But go on. This famous trio, 3 of comicdom's all-time greats, donated their time and talents until we could find an artist of sufficient stature to continue this highly praised series. And now we found him. With no further ado, we announce our newest creative team, Stan Lee, writer, and Wallace Wood, illustrator. So much hyperbole. All the time in these early Marvel books. Am I the only one who gets put off when something is selling itself that hard, that constantly? I just can't. It's like old school snake oil salesmanship. This comic will cure what ails ya, cure the common cold, cure your sexual inadequacies, also rheumatoid arthritis. Wally Wood would end up contributing a lot to this comic, and the change that drew me to this topic was the costume. The all-red costume he designed for Daredevil, which debuts in issue 7, against the backdrop in the issue of Namor trying to sue humanity, which is great. 10 out of 10. The change is addressed in the story thusly. I've secretly worked for months to redesign my fighting costume to make it more comfortable, more distinctive. but I never expected to wear it against such a fantastic foe. This issue also introduces some new weapons/gadgets for DD, which are also explained. The Daredevil's Cane Billy Club with grappling hook cable. There were also character design sheets for Daredevil, Foggy, and Karen. Wood would end up contributing a lot to this comic that had a major and lasting impact, and the red costume he designed is the iconic look for Daredevil. He also depicted the Daredevil's radar sense as those outward expanding ripple-like circles, which also became the trademark way to depict them. It is said that he took the yellow out of the costume because he felt that it was silly for a character with the tagline "The Man Without Fear" to be dressed in yellow, the color of fear and cowardice. A connotation that goes way back. We're talking people depicting Judas in yellow back. Whether this was the rationale or not, the red was certainly a slicker look. However, he also provided for many of the stories, uncredited most of the time. How did this happen? Well, for that we have to thank/blame the Marvel method, a method much touted by Marvel at the time. It essentially goes as follows. Instead of the writer creating all plot and dialogue and notes, and then the artist following along with that laid out track, Stan Lee would give an outline of a story to the artist, and the artist could essentially go and fill in plot and details and sometimes dialogue themselves. It was a time-saving method, trying to get things out at a deadline and also to eliminate crunch as much as possible. And it is understandable when you think about how many comics Stan Lee was supposed to be writing all at the same time. Gotta write the Hulk, gotta write Spider-Man, gotta write the Fantastic Four, gotta write the Avengers, gotta write Daredevil. So it made sense to share the weight with the other half of the creative team. And for many artists, it was an exciting prospect to have such freedom to influence the story and implement one's ideas and choices. For some, it sounded like the ideal situation. However, the Marvel method could and did lead to friction. It worked beautifully if the creative team was in sync and happy with how everything was developing and their contracts and the like. However, this method makes credit a nebulous and confusing beast. It can also make some details get lost in translation or plots turn out completely differently than was intended. For Wood, what got under his skin was the lack of creative credit and also pay, as he was contributing key story ideas and dialogue. He's outright credited for writing issue 10, so we know that there's credence to this. He told Mark Evanier, "Oh yeah, I got quotes, my favorite kind of tea." Wood told me that is the reason he left Marvel, that he felt he was contributing too much to the storylines to not be paid some of the writing fee, and that he had been promised a profit-sharing deal if his art boosted the sales on Daredevil, which it did, and he didn't get the extra money. Despite being heralded as the ideal artist for the series, Wood would only stay on the book for a year in which the most successfully launched magazine would actually become successful, going from almost being cancelled to bi-monthly to monthly, which is quite the coup. But to put that in perspective, he's gone by issue 12. Well, he lasted there than he did on the All-Star issues, drawing Power Girl, where he got kicked out after a couple of issues because of editorial friction. John Romita would take over for a time after, and while some may argue about how much Wood did or didn't plot, it clearly was significant, which is also something that can be seen because of the other creators that had similar things happen to them in the same era. Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, credit, what's that? One thing that definitely isn't quibbled about is the fact that he made a lasting impact on the character's look and feel. Daredevil's origins would be retold in the 6-issue miniseries Daredevil Yellow in 2001, written by Jeff Loeb with art by Tim Sale. This series would retell the events of issues 1 to 4 of the original run until the beginning of Matt switching costumes to the red costume, but we actually end right before he gets the double Ds. Insert your jokes here. And this story would give different reasons for the coloration on both suits. The first yellow suit would now contain material from his father Jack Murdock's boxing robe, so he had included it out of sentimentality and as a reminder. You know, glance in your closet at your costume and go, right, justice, vengeance, gotta avenge my dad. The swap in color would now be because of Karen Page, Matt's great love pre-Elektra. Also, she was dead for quite a while. Karen and Elektra don't love Matt. Why do you wear yellow?
Why do I wear yellow?
Well, I was just thinking, if you're gonna be a devil, wouldn't red be more appropriate?
Do you like red, Karen?
It's my favorite color. Better than just changing it for comfort, style, and feel? You decide. This series does put Wood up there along with the Daredevil creators, each issue in a little dedication box. That is him, Bill Everett, and Stan Lee. You know what series didn't give him creator credit? The Netflix one. And ooh, did that lead to salt and complaints by his estate. I could literally do a video just on other creators commenting on how unfair they felt that was. But I shall cliff notes it by saying, they big mad. But let me know if you want to hear more about that salt. You know I will just spend an entire day reading quotes to you. I will serenade you with the quotes. So that's how Daredevil's costume went from yellow to red. Oh, Wally Wood, always a treat when he shows up on this channel. Did you know this story? How widespread was knowledge of the Marvel method at the time, if you were collecting at that time period? I'm curious. Do Do you have any questions that could be considered noob questions that you were afraid to ask but wouldn't mind knowing the answer to? Please let me know down below. I'm in so deep, I need noob questions. And while you're down there leaving questions, please do all the other YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time every day to spend it discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.